Hey guys, I'm going to jump right into it since I'm super late. I apologize for being late. You know what? You're going to have to hear the music for a sec because we need to bond. BRB. Hold on. We'll put BRB there and I'll put the music on. And then I got to hit them internets. Give me 1 second. Give me a second. All right. I had the worst coffee experience today of my life. I ordered coffee. I was all excited. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go treat myself. So, and if you know Cuban coffee, it's really good. So I ordered it, and then I get home. I'm driving home, and then I realized I put cream in it. I can't do that. Very frustrating. So then I had to go through the whole routine of making my own coffee after all that. Okay, let's get to it. I don't know that you're going to break the put wall, which is 600. I'm going to talk fast because I'm super late, and I apologize, but I have issues with coffee. If you can't break that put wall, if you don't break that put wall, I don't really see the pressure on the market. I truly don't see how you get pressure on the market if you don't break that. And I think that's super important. So that's the cues, and that's how I see the cues. In regards to the SPY, make sure I'm on the right mic. Test, test, test. Yeah, I'm on the right mic. Cool. All right. In regards to the SPY, and I'm just going to draw them out for you since I'm super late. And I apologize. I'm trying not to be, but I don't know, man. Something's got to give. I can't get up any earlier. Well, I guess I could, but I choose not to. Already getting up at 5. 675. So you have to watch that put wall. I don't know what gets us down here. Like if I had to say like what's going to be the thing, I don't know how you would drop down to those levels before you're in a situation with, you know, how do you get down to those levels before NVIDIA? I don't see it. Even with the comments today, I just don't see how that's going to happen. A lot of people think that the risk is to the upside. You know, it's not how I would look at the market, but some of these people are smarter than me, and they really do a lot of good work. So I can't rule it out. When I look at it, I see a stair step down, but I see the pattern that they're starting to talk about here where you're not really breaking. So just from a technical standpoint, I know people hate when I do it this way. And I use those points. So what we're going to do is just go to here, and we want to make sure that we're always using the body, and that's the lowest body right there. And then what we do is go to here and make sure that we're using the body. And then you can see here where you broke that down, undercut it and bounced. So what you really don't want to do from my standpoint, from a trading standpoint, is break that. So you've been holding it since. So I'm going to just put a little alert there. And, can you break that? I mean, anything can happen. But I see what they're saying where you're getting kind of wedged in here. And we can see that really clearly, right? So I get the squeeze. The question is, what happens with NVIDIA? And do you get something out of NVIDIA that makes sense? I don't know that one way or another. I do know that you have a tremendous amount of interest here. And I know you have a tremendous amount of people wanting to see what software is going to do. And I think software could really set you off. And then I'll take a bunch of questions today, clearly. But give me a sec here. And the way that I see the ES is we're just going to drop it there like it's hot. Okay. Okay. And so we could see that area in here, how you came down here, test, 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 up. I think that's pretty pivotal. And I don't know how pivotal that area is, but I do think you want to pay attention to it. Now, what we should really do, well, I don't think we have to worry about it too much here, but I think maybe we should do it anyway. From that peak, let's just do it and see. Yeah. So you're still getting above that level and you could get up to that 69, 61. So we're going to overlay that on the 5, and then we're just going to see how it acted at that level for a minute. So you did have a battle there, didn't you? Over and over again. And then we're trying to get through this level. US for market movers, Alphabet, Deer, Tidewater, Vimba, VF Torque. I need to come up with a program. All right. It'll be so much easier. And then let's put this here, and then we'll throw this in the futures room. But that's how I see that. Let's go to the NQ. And then I'm just gonna take questions straight out. Oh, I have a trade on too. I gotta look at that. All right, so the NQ level, and they're basically what they're saying is that if keywords if. So just remember, guys, this is from that area right here that we dropped this. I'm just going to show you how to do this again. It'll take 2 seconds. I'm just using anchored VWAP. I'm not doing anything different with it. That's all I'm doing. That's it. And what you're saying is from that area, we're hitting that area and we're rejecting. Now, whether or not we get back down to that CTA level down here, I don't think that you are. You can just screenshot it and keep my levels. I don't really care, but they're good levels, and you can see how they're holding in there. So I would like to pop back into that area, but what I want and what I'm going to get are 2 different things. So yeah, I want to have some of that in the graph, but is it really necessary? I think it is. I do. I think the whole thing is. So I'm going to keep it like that. I think that's more important than anything else, frankly, because you're not where you're supposed to be when these kids is doing their own thing. So I guess they didn't like my Ferrari idea. All right. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to take questions, and I apologize for that. I got a big thing on metals, so I'm going to cover metals in detail. Give me 1 second, guys. I have a trade on. I mean, you're going the wrong way, man. We were having a good time. Everybody was having a good time. Everything was fine. It was like a big party. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see what happens here. Give me 1 second. All right. Sorry, guys. Let's go. Let's get back to it. I'm going to do this super quick. I apologize. SPY, we've done TPO. I was thinking about you, John. You nailed this. Like you freaking nailed this. You just absolutely slaughtered it on this trade. You just killed it, dude. I don't like taking that kind of risk for earnings, but you've been talking about this thing for weeks and we saw it start creeping up and then you got into earnings. What do you do now with it? You have to make sure you're not exhausted. But realistically, what tends to happen with it after really, really good earnings like this is you start getting one of these. You start getting something like this. And I would want to listen to this conference call because if they're doing that because the data center is starting to move to them because they're going to lease land to them, it just means that we were 2 years early, which was back here, which one we thought that was going to start kicking in, which then means you have to look at land bridge, right? Okay. So what's the takeaway from this? The takeaway from me thinking about it is going to be TPL, LB. Are they getting are they getting data center deals? So I do think that, and I do think that there's something to that. BMO, I'm not interested in. GE, super interesting. Anything industrials is just an absolute monster right now. And I really don't see, like, there's such easy trades, candidly, because the thing, all you're doing with them is this. I'll just tell you how I look at this. Let's get rid of that. You go and take a look at the weeklies and you'll make sure like you're through everything. Go to the daily. You see the breakout, right? And so you look at the breakout, you go to the volume and you're like, all right, well, it's not great, but it's, it's better than being kicked in the shins. So really the trade was here. And then just go look at the ATR. Okay. All right. You're going to work with me? Or are you going to give me nonsense today? Because I am in no mood. They put freaking cream in my coffee today. So I am going to be super aggravated. 970, call it 10. And so then what you're doing is saying, all right, if I pay up here, am I willing to go to 335? And does that get me stopped out? And the answer is, yeah, it does. So are you willing to buy that breakout and lose $10? Yes or no? And that's the question you have to answer for yourself. I can't answer that for you. That's the question that you have to ask yourself. And then figure out. So, I mean, obviously I can't answer that for you. I do think it's super interesting how some of these names are acting today. I'm watching the SanDisk up $10, like in everybody's face. It's really kind of crazy that one's going up and all the others are going down. So I don't think it's going to be like that for long. Something's going to give, either that one or something else. But, we'll have to see. We will have to see. I promise never to do that accent again. All right. So I got to watch that and then go from there. What else you got? The GE is interesting. Anything XLI. It's only going to get stronger. What's up, JL? So I'll tell you where my head is because with these. So silver, my thought is that I understand. So I'm long gold, or I started getting out of it this morning. I'm long gold and I'm short silver, and I did it as a pair trade, but that didn't work. So the problem with the trade was the tariff news, which I didn't factor into it. I'll tell you what happened. Demand, if tariffs are lower, demand for solar panels from China will go up. China is responsible for something like 75 to 80% of all outflows into the US of silver, right? So there's those two things. The third thing is they keep 20% of all silver manufactured or mined, I should say it that way, in China goes directly into their solar companies. So the demand for silver just increased drastically because increased trade between China and the US is coming. It's very clear that that's where this is going. Unless you're going to do a full embargo or ridiculous licenses, and then you're just going to be, it's going to be a nightmare. But I don't think that that's where this is going. If you really look at what happened on Friday, it was emphatic. So, despite what's being said, it was pretty emphatic that you can't do what you want to do. Like, they lost on all fronts. They didn't win on one front. So you're going to get solar panels. They're going to come from China. Deal with it. But the demand for silver in China and the increased productivity that's going to go on at those solar plants to come here, that's going to really do it. Okay, hold on one second, because I'm not doing this. I'm in no mood. I'm in no mood for you. So, okay. So I think that that's going to continue. I think you're better off looking at the miners. Google makes so much sense. Hold on one second. I just got to do this. I mean, I can just do it this way. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm so behind because of this damn coffee. I get so set in my ways. I think as guys get older, we guys can relate to this. I think as we get older, especially if we're older and like single, I think you just really get set in your freaking ways, and like the slightest thing like throws you off. Crap. Give me 1 second. Where is the economic events on the day? I want to go over that. All right. All right, there it is. Good. Give me 1 second. I did the sheet and I want to show it. Can I tell you how much I hate Windows? No, that's not it. That's it. Got it. I got it. Good news, guys. I found it. All right. I know you were worried. Hold on. Follow me for more tech tips. Okay. This is goddamn ridiculous. Hold on. Sorry. All right. Let me just show this. This is what I think is the most important things for the day. You got a Fed speaker. Watch the Chicago Fed numbers. You're going to want to watch these national activity and manufacturing numbers all week. Factory orders are coming out at 10. Dallas manufacturing numbers. You want to watch these manufacturing numbers right now, especially with the industrial space. And you want to watch the bond market today. You definitely want to watch the bond market today at 11:30. So I wanted to get that out there. In regards to Google, I think that all the Mag 7 look fantastic. I think Google makes the most sense. My problem with Google right now, and I'll just point it out, is your 55 is here and you need to close over it. That's where my head is with that. And I think that there's an important distinction there. So we'll see. Where am I here with this? I don't care about that. Okay, next. Let's keep going. I think it's good. I think it was a tariff trade. The GLW I own, the Google I own super long term, but the GLW, you're going a lot higher, like a lot higher. I think all that stuff is, you saw this move with Light the other day, and then you had the inside day. So you had time to buy. Then you saw the undercut there, and then you're up 100 from there. I mean, some of these names are just like, they're just pushing and pushing. And I don't know really what's going to stop that. some of these names. This is crazy. This is where it got added to the S&P. I've never had a stock that I owned that got added to the S&P that opened down. I can't remember the last time it happened. It's got to be 10 years. It's got to be more than 10 years. But they added it to the S&P and then they gapped it down. And from there, you're up 50%. It's absolutely crazy. Some of these moves. So, we just have to have some patience, I guess. So I like all that stuff. I think that you're short-lived on the Google. I think the silver trade, the part of the silver trade that I really was not factoring in is the idea that you're going to have a lot more issues there. So I don't really understand this trade. I don't understand why you're up and the other's down. I got to get into that. Rare earths, I'd be super careful of. I'd be really careful of anything that is rare earth. I think you need to be super careful of anything that is rare earth unless you truly understand it. Really convenient for that Bloomberg article, wasn't it, that day? Unless you understand it cold. I don't know that these are the trades anymore. They seem to be getting tired. It seems to me that the trades are the shippers. Like you start looking at the shippers and what they're doing. This DHT, I have not, I'll say this and then I'll have to worry about it today. But since I bought it, I have not had to worry about it. This HSHP, I have not had to worry about it. I did the other one. I didn't do this one. I talked about both 3 Saturdays ago in a video. I think you're coming off some of the ZIM on the HSHP, and I'm still not sure that this goes through like at all. So, but, I also think it's interesting. I'm not getting any Bitcoin questions. Kona coffee this morning. Kona's the best, dude. I love Kona coffee. I don't know that they're the place anymore, bro. Wall, NVIDIA is NVIDIA. I mean, I personally think they could have a margin issue, but I don't know that. I just go through it in my head and think that this could be the one that they have the margin issue on. I'm not going to have explosive, like no one is predicting explosive growth. Everyone's saying the same thing. Like if you start looking at the growth between them, this is when you should have explosive growth, right? Like previously, right? And then start slowing. The growth between the quarters starts slowing down, starts getting more predictable, 46 to 57. Even though it's great, everyone's like, oh, it's going to start slowing. We're still waiting for that to slow. And, you're really working into the valuation. I don't think that there's a problem working into the valuation considering where you've been. I just think it's delusional to think that it's over, but I think you need to, I would rather have a washout and buy it than buy it thinking that it's going to break out. It has not ever really broken out on earnings. It just, every earnings is a gap down, no matter how good they were. They just flush it. And to think that this one's going to be different, I don't know, man. I don't know that I want to go with this one's going to be different. So I really think that that's the way to look at it. I'm not so sure, that this one's going to be that different. Let me put this here and get this out, and then we'll go from there. I'm not so sure that this time it's going to be different. So, we really want to just pay attention to that because I'm not so sure I want to drink that Kool-Aid. It doesn't usually work for me. The IREN, something's going on there. I actually shorted that, and then it went way up there. I had a real problem with it. And then earnings came out, and earnings were a dumpster fire, but everybody was shorted, and now you're starting to roll over. I don't know if you're rolling over. I can't find news. I looked for some news today. I didn't have all day, but I'm wondering if it was the CIFR that's coming out or if there's something else. Some of these things really reversed hard the other day. And I think you have to, take a step back there and go, all right, so what am I dealing with here? And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what I'm dealing with yet. So pardon me. So I really have to, play this by ear and see. The industrial stuff, is super interesting to me. But I think that that's what you have to look at. So IGF, let's do IGF, EUFN, IGF, global infrastructure. Yeah, I mean, stuff like this. What am I dealing with here? I haven't been watching this. This is super interesting because you have a bunch of names in here that you can't get anywhere else. 40% utilities, but it's all stuff that's global. Yeah, so that's super interesting. I could see why you're looking at this. I actually want to remember this. It's not something I keep on, but I need to look at it now. I've been looking at this DTCR a lot. I got to look at this one too. Because you have all this exposure overseas, which I think you really want right now. What else you got here? EUFN. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not feeling it, to be honest with you. Let me get to this. Thank you. I think silver is bouncing. I tried to cover it. I think silver is bouncing because you're going to have more free trade. And I think silver on the miner side is super interesting. I would look at miners. I really think you have to think about that. Like, I think you have to really go through the miners. I don't want to go through them all, but like, you have to think about silver where 80% of it or 70% of it is China. And then 20% of that they're going to keep. If demand for product between two countries goes up, then they're going to need more of it. If they need more of it, then solar is going to go up for one, which it's been. What we really need to do is figure out who benefits from that. I think it's JKS, right? Isn't it that who it is the most? But I think that those names could really run. So we'll see. But I'm leaning more towards the miners. Same time from North Africa. I'd be careful of certain miners. Other miners, no. I think other companies are going to continue to push. But I think other ones, I think others are going to have an issue with. PA. Yeah, I think anything like this that you really want to take a look at the miners, the people that are actually mining that the U.S. would have access to. What do I think on that? I personally think the entire C-level team needs to resign. I think the entire C-level exec team needs to go. I think they're an absolute disaster. You gave them a pass in here when they talked about the deal that they were doing with Novartis, and then Novartis said, we're leaving because you're, bad business practices. Like, you're saying all this stuff about the drug and it's not true. And then they're like, oh no, we worked it out. No, we didn't. And then it was earnings. And then like since then, in that earnings, you can see the break here with what used to be the put wall. And since then, it's been a disaster. Since then, they've come out with a drug and said, "Oh, we're going to do it ourselves, and we're going to do a generic." Since then, they've been they've been threatened, they've been sued, and now they're being investigated by the FDA. So, like, I don't think they understand that they're dealing with an industry that has, guidelines. It's absolutely frustrating because, like, I think they could be an enormous company. And there's such demand for someone else like this, but they are just a dumpster fire of a management team. I don't know another way to say it. Like, it's just maddening to watch. Like, they'll come out with something and then literally the company that they're talking about will be like, we have no idea what you're talking about. So I think management's got to go. I think that they have to go. You never know. Like, look, coin went up on probably the worst quarter reporting that it's ever had. Right? Because everybody's short. So everybody's trying to get out of it because everybody's short. But you're not there yet. Like, it's still not weak, right? So the shorts are still waiting for that to get weak, and it's still not getting weak, right? Some of these shorts are they're just sitting there for now because everybody's short them because everybody knows that this stuff's coming in like super hard. And it's probably only going to come in harder, frankly. So I think that there's a lot of that going on. AVDV. What's up, Jacob? The absolute monster. I think anything like this that gives you international exposure is just an absolute home run. I can't go near this now, but I think anything like that is it's just an absolute home run right now. You can see these breakouts and then the retests after all the winning and liberation. And I don't think that kind of nationalism stops. You have no idea. Like, you have no idea. Like, you come home, you got your new cup of coffee, you're all excited, and you're just like, now I understand my father's rage. Right. Follow me for more tips, for more tech tips. Well, no, I think there are. I think that shipping in those areas is going to go up. I think some of these companies are starting to look at this and say to themselves, like, okay, we might need to consolidate, or okay, shipping prices might go up. The thing about like ZIM that's so interesting to me is that it's so cheap in comparison to these other names, but it's the influence of how they're owned with the quote golden share from Israel. And I think that there's a thing there. There's definitely a thing there. So I don't think it matters right now because I think they're looking at the broadening out and the growth. I think when people started to realize that these things just switched miners out when people switched the mining out for this, it was great. And it's a big move for these companies, and they'll make a ton of money, but they don't have more space. So they seem to be running out of space. And that seems to be what's doing it. No different than what happened with NBIS. And yeah, I think that's why people are looking at things like Riot right now, right? Like, if you read, I forget who the company was that did it, but they came out and said, hey, we really want you to convert more. And they should convert more. But the conversion ones, like I forget who it was. Was it Starboard that took the position? I have to look it up again. But the point that they were making was you could be $23 to $40 if you just converted more over because you'd move up. So it's the conversion. It's during the conversion that these things are making their money because then there's no more space. Then they have to do the build outs. But now you're just like everybody else doing a build out. That was part of the point that I don't think people got, myself included. I didn't think that part through. Like, yeah, you got the contracts, but then there's the growth. You already caught the growth. When all that conversion was from 33 over. I can't believe that was a year ago. Jesus. A lot of people are raising the oil prices. Yeah, I saw that. And electricity, 40% of it's electricity. Toll roads, airports. Yeah, I think if you go SIL divided by silver, yeah. I think that's what I don't think people are understanding. I think there's a physical demand issue here with actually using it for product. Everybody short it. And when everybody short things like this, you have to be super, super careful. That's when you run into problems. It's like, it really is. Like I was short Circle and it just stopped going down. You can see it literally has stopped and you're going into earnings now. But, do I stay short? No, I get out of the way. But you can see your level here, right? Like where you would roll again, like where it could get ugly in the earnings. It's the same thing as like BMNR. I'll stay short, but when I look at stuff like this, I got to get out of the way. Like that night I was at 14 or 15 on it. And then you come in the next day and you have to realize that if everybody's short the same pig, someone's going to get stuck. So you got to watch. Yeah, that's not great for NBO because it means that they don't have that's like 56% of their revenue. So that's definitely a problem. I think you're going to get a lot of people that are going to puke this. So the question really becomes, at what level do you want to short that? And for me, you usually need, or I need some kind of like bounce to really get in there and make the magic with something like that. If I am to look at that, I'll just go through it for you real quick. So the put wall is like 45. So, you might bounce up to here, maybe, but I don't know. Stuff like this, there's a couple of different ways to play it. Like every 2% you add to the short on the way up using this as your stop. Because if you start closing above this, then you really want to be out of it. And you can pyramid the trade up, right? Where you're doing like 10% here, 20, 30, et cetera, right? So your cost basis goes up. So you have some off in case it just rolls over and then you have to re-add. But there's different ways to pyramid stuff like this. What I find best is to leave it alone and then wait and see if I can catch something on a bounce. And if I can't, then I'll just look for another spot later in like an hour or two after it settles. Because to me, it's shorting when these things are here. Everyone's short. Maybe I bounce to the 45 level. And then from there, maybe you roll over. But yeah, I can't see how maybe everyone's short because they thought this and it bounces, but I don't get that. NIO, I'm not going to cover. We don't want to look at NIO. XBI. Well, you had that deal today, right? And these deals, these are not small deals, man. Like ACLX, you're at $60 stock. Now you're at 115. Like that's not a small deal. I got to jump, guys. I'm super late. I apologize for starting super late today. I'm going to get closer to 8:15. I swear I am. Let's hope that they don't put cream in my coffee again. Make good choices.